So some of us are familiar, maybe all of you, with the quote, 90% of life is showing up. 90% of life is showing up, and I think so many of us construe that to mean is all we have to do is be somewhere, to show up and be, take a seat, and wait for things to come to us, the 90%. That's a lot, that's a big percent. There's only 10% left. 90%. And I wonder sometimes, I used to do that growing up because I was raised in a different faith practice, and I thought just going to church on Sunday was it. And I thought in that 45 minutes that all that I needed was happening, and all that was about God and all that my involvement, my life involvement with God was in that 45 minutes on Sunday. You know, I showed up. And in that 45 minutes, I wasn't necessarily engaged, but I showed up. You know, I was in the pew, and I said the words, and I recited the prayers, and I was listening most of the time, paying attention to what was going on. But a lot of times I was tuned out and just present, but not present, as if mindful about what was really happening and being a part of the experience of the Mass and having an experience of God in that time. And my experience of God was just about that 45 minutes. And I think I've said this before, that once we got out in the parking lot, we got in the car, all bets were off. And whoever gets in that alley to get out of that parking lot first, and you just get in. There was no waving each other in, and no, you go first. No, you go first. None of that was happening. We were just on our way because church is over. God's over. And then the rest of your life happens. And then the next Sunday, you're back in that God space, or at least showed up in that God space, and that's supposed to be the 90%. Or like so many other things, some of us just show up to work. Haven't we all worked with somebody who only showed up?
Yes, indeed.
And wasn't engaged? Kind of, sort of did their part, but not really. You know, coworkers that just kind of, I had some that just like amble in at some point. I was always assigned, so I was in software support. And I was always assigned the early shift at 8 a.m. because I was always there before 8 a.m. because clients were always calling at 8 on the dot, and somebody had to be there to pick up the phone. And somehow I was the only one out of about 7 or 8 support people who could get their rear end to work.
Yes, right.
That part too. Well, I grew up with parents who made sure we were on time for church. That was not happening. You were not late.
That's right.
But I would show up for work before so I could answer that phone at 8 a.m. And everybody else just kind of ambled in, you know, whenever. Like the clients could wait. And most of the time they did. But they knew that I would always be there, and it was my voice that they would hear at 8 a.m. And some people, that was back in the days when the internet was just, you know, coming into being, and we were all on it during work and looking at did we have cell phones? I guess we did, but they didn't have everything that we have now where you could be on Facebook and everything else. Yes. It was a primitive form. So primitive. We won't talk about how many years ago that was. So most people were at work but not working. And there were a couple of people who were invited not to work there again because they spent a lot of time on the internet instead of working. So they were showing up and getting paid. And I was raised in such a manner that that was not acceptable. So I went to work. And I was present, and I worked whether I felt like working or not. And I always did my job. And my boss didn't have to be around for me to do my job. I worked whether he was looking at me or not. I worked whether my supervisor was on vacation or not. And I was always on time, whether somebody was clocking me in. We didn't clock in, we just had to be there. There was no time clock. So sometimes we just show up. Sometimes we show up in our relationships. And we're just living with each other. Ships passing in the night. But not engaged in the relationship. Not honestly giving, not showing up authentically, not bothering to look each other in the eyes, to hug each other, really hug each other and say hello. Kiss each other like we mean it. We don't always do that. Sometimes we're just clocking in and taking up space in whatever it is we're engaged in, relationship, work, church, whatever it is. And we can live like that forever. You can just show up all the days of your life and live a half-life because you just showed up, because you're taking up space, because you're a warm body. And sometimes people just want butts in the seats. We just want warm bodies. And you're just creating hot air because you're breathing. And that's okay if that's what you choose. If that's what you choose. And so there's, if you go by this quote, the other 10%. Actually, I think it should be flipped. Showing up, I think, should be 10%. And 90 is about what we are called to do. That's the engagement. And I love the word earnest. To do things earnestly. With a seriousness, with a passion, with intention. To be in it completely with our whole selves. And to do the work. Do the work we're called to do. To really be there. Because nothing happens after you show up if you put nothing into it. If you put nothing into that endeavor. So this is from the Brooklyn Law School blog. There is an old saying most often attributed to Woody Allen that 90% of life is showing up. Actually, it turns out that the number is somewhere between 75 and 90, depending on the recollection of the person reciting the quote. But either way, the balance of life is about following up. Allen's point is a good one. Just get involved, make the call, or introduce yourself. The results will astonish you. In fact, once you take the initiative, momentum alone can drive you toward your goal. Where many of us falter, however, is in the follow-up. We expect to be rewarded for our risk-taking, not realizing that success is the product of both good ideas and good execution. Execution. So when you get there, when you show up, and it's time to do something, be something earnestly. Earnestly. So I've challenged all of us in this with our 2023 theme to embrace our divinity. And maybe I should have put the word earnestly at the end of it. But to really embrace it, put your arms around your divinity, your divine inheritance, to think about it, meditate on it, ask about it, to ask about it in prayer, wait for the answers, and then to step into it the way that you are being guided by the Creator to step into it. And each of you received a word, one of those 12 powers, that is yours to be and do this year, earnestly. So, of course, I don't go home with each of you, and I don't know if you're doing it earnestly or not. All I can do is be here on Sunday morning and teach. Everything else is yours. And mine, with my word, is mine too. Because I can come here just on Sunday morning and teach and talk about doing it earnestly and go home and half do it. My work is to show up too. And it is my goal every single day in this walk with all of you as spiritual leader is to not just ask you to do as I say, but I invite you to do as I do. that I am always in this with integrity. So I never ask you to do anything that I'm not willing to do. I'll never ask that. And I will not talk about anything that I have not either grappled with, thought about, meditated about, or been inspired to share. Something that's always got to come through me, either my work or my beingness or something. Because this is about life. This is about the 90% is after you walk out of this door and get to live earnestly, get to be love earnestly, get to be peace and joy earnestly, get to be that power that chose you this year earnestly. And so my challenge was that we start today, because Lent starts on Wednesday with Ash Wednesday in the Christian tradition. And so I thought, let's start today, the 19th, the Sunday before, since we talk on Sundays. Start your earnest walk with this word. So I challenge you in the last 2 weeks to really think about, be in prayer about that word, and to ask, what is it I am to do? What is my work during the season of Lent up until Easter, which is April 9? And what is the training I am being called to do or be so that I can embrace my divinity through this one of these 12 powers that I've been given, that each of us has been given. And so I don't know whether you did the work or not, but it's up to you what you want. Spiritual work is not always easy. In fact, most of the time, it is uncomfortable. Opening ourselves up to a greater part of ourselves always requires us to expand, to break through whatever box we've got ourselves in, that we've created. Because Spirit, the Creator, has given us everything and says, greater things you shall do. Greater things than I did, you shall do. And so we know what Jesus did. And he said, greater things. That's a high calling. He loved radically. He walked his talk. He demonstrated his oneness with the Creator in everything. In everything. And that's what his work was. And then as he came into spiritual maturity and got closer to this, what represents the season of Lent, towards the days of the Passion, when he went into the desert, that Jesus spent those 40 days of Lent represent Jesus' time in the wilderness, where he went away from all distractions to do his work. And so that's what we're doing, and I invite you to do it earnestly during these 40 days. So now we're going into the wilderness for our 40 days. To go within, really go within, and do the work that we've been called to do. So if we've been in meditation, we're hearing what it is we're to do. Maybe it means that you're going to love differently in your family. Maybe it's that you'll be more accepting of those who are different than you are. And not just tolerate them, but love them in the Jesus sense of the word of love. To really be open and authentic in our loving. And not love people in spite of what they are, but love them fully for who they are, unconditionally. That's Jesus level love. For most of us, with the people we are challenged by, that is hard work. And that means we probably have to work more on ourselves than it's not our work to work on them. It's not our work to choose to change them so they become something we can love. We love them where they are. And we get to change. We get to open up our hearts. We get to be more expansive. We get to see them and love them unconditionally. All parts of them, which means we probably have to start loving ourselves unconditionally and accepting all of us so that we can be open to someone else, because you can't give what you don't have for yourself. And so perhaps, if love is your word, maybe these 40 days in wilderness means you're going to be loving yourself fully and deeply and unconditionally. And loving yourself fully, warts and all. Warts and all. To the point where you don't see warts anymore. And all you see is goodness. And if we did that every single day, I bet you can come out and love people more unconditionally at the end of those 40 days. So what's your work? And do you want to, so the first question is, do you want to do the work? If the answer is no, you can skate through Lent. Get to Easter, maybe buy some new clothes because you think that means something. You know, get new Easter clothes always made me feel special. But that feeling lasted as long as I had the new clothes on. It's temporary. We got the whole 9 yards when we were getting new Easter clothes. We got hats and gloves and the pocketbook, new socks, got the hair done, new pretty dress. Sometimes we got a new coat. Yeah, and then you change clothes and you're like, okay, Easter's over. Yeah. So are you willing? Are you willing to do this earnestly? And do the deep work. So Robin and I were talking about that spiritual work last night. And one of the things we agreed upon is, yes, the work is hard. And yes, sometimes the work is constant. I've told you, there are some days I say out loud, can we not have a spiritual lesson today? Can we not have some growth? Because I'm tired of the growing pains. I'm tired of shifting. I'm tired of being open. Can I be a spiritual slacker today? And the answer is always yes, if you want. But I always walk forward, and I keep saying yes to Spirit. And every time I'm called out, I try to do that work and bring myself to it earnestly and fully. But always, 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 always at the end of the work, well, it doesn't end. The work that particular day, or for that particular instance, or that particular lesson, then there is joy, peace, love, bliss, where you feel this connection with the divine, and you can walk, and whether you got on shiny new clothes or not, you feel wonderful. And your heart sings. Your heart sings. And everything is beautiful in its own way. And everything is beautiful. But you got to do the work first. You got to be in it. You got to engage in it. You got to do it earnestly. You got to put something out. You got to execute something. I grew up in a faith tradition where we always prayed for God to do something for us. Do it. Make me whole. Make me good. Make me more loving. And now I believe in unity, we believe that the power is ours. And if you're not having love, it's because you're not loving. We've been given the feast. And again, some of us sit away from the table, away from the feast, complaining that we're not feasting on what we have been given, what our divine inheritance is. We won't walk up to the table and sit down. And even if we walk up and sit down, some of us don't partake of the feast. Yeah. We sit complaining that we don't have. I didn't get. It didn't work out. Something's not happening that I want to happen. It's all laid out before you. Because we've been given the power to have it all. We just have to claim it and believe it. Believe that it's coming. Believe that you already have it. Give thanks for it. And then it rolls into your life. It overflows into your life. But you got to do the work. You know, half living is okay. But do you choose okay for the rest of your days? I mean, okay is not bad. That's what you want. A lot of people are living in half lives. People ask how you doing. Oh, I'm okay. I'm all right. How's your husband? He's still around. We're still together. 50 years. This is when you know how we all have those instances where you hear people say things and you think, did they really say that out loud? Did they really say that out loud? So a friend of mine is very tragic. Her husband was killed. He was at work, and a gunman came in, robbed the place, and shot and killed him. And we're at the funeral. At the funeral. Yes, at the funeral. It had just ended, and I was standing next to her, and a woman came up and said, I wish someone had shot my husband. Because I'm tired of him. And yeah, so that we all went, and then you think, she really said that out loud. But she's probably living a half life. Like, what the heck makes you blurt that out? Yeah. Well, hopefully her husband wasn't there to hear that. But what makes somebody say that, to have that? And to not be able to read the room and know that's not something you say out loud. If you're going to say it, you don't say it in front of the one who's just lost their husband. How far are you into your half-life that that's okay? Yeah. That's how asleep some of us are. We're so asleep. And we're just coasting through life that we're unaware of what's happening. So many times I go places and I think, people aren't reading the room. Like, something's happening here. And yet we're in our own world. We're just we're coasting. Because if you're really embracing life and what's happening, if you're really engaged in a moment, then you're aware of the experience that is happening and the people that are in the room. And you're feeling the energy of the room. And you're in that experience. A lot of times we're fooling ourselves that something special is happening. I remember being in places, and sometimes if you have to say it, then it means it's probably not happening. And so something happens, somebody just spoken or something, somebody would walk up and say, wow, wasn't that powerful? Well, if it was, and everybody's sitting there going, oh. And you don't have to say, wow, wasn't that powerful? Because we all feel it, and we know it. And we're speechless because it was indeed powerful. So earnestly, how are we going to do this walk? And are you going to do it? And it's okay. I love each of you, whether you walk it or not, whether you do it earnestly or not. I love you all. And you are loved still, even if you decide not to do the work. You can just show up and come and enjoy this, because this is wonderful what we do here on Sundays. That's why we want to be here, because we love being in each other's presence. We love the laughter. We love the hugs. We love the nurturing. We love seeing each other and talking about our lives and sharing that part and being able to share our deepest selves and having others hold it in their hearts and hold it in confidence. We love that because that's the magic that we have as this community. So yes. Oh, thank you. I love him. Yes, that's what we want. So if that's all you want, then that's great, because we got that in spades. We got that. And then you can go home after it's over and maybe have half life, 3/4 life, or whatever it is, 1/4 life, whatever it is you're doing. And if that's okay, do that. Do that and love it. Or you can dig in, do the work, challenge yourself to have a practice, to ask the questions of Spirit, what would you have me do during these 40 days? And then do what you were asked to do. Because every single time you get an inspiration from the Creator, from Spirit, from your deepest, highest self, it is leading you to peace and joy and love. And you are free to say no to it if you want. Being handed, you have the kingdom. You have the kingdom. You're given the feast, and you can choose to sit at the table and not eat. And not partake of the goodness. So just think about it. What do you want? Maybe you've already done the work. Maybe you went and you got your journal and you read the handout that I gave out, and you really did ask that question. And then after that, then there's another choice. Now that I have the information, am I going to do what I was inspired to do? I'm right there with you, because I went and I asked the question. And I have been playing with it lately. So what exactly does this mean? Spirit has asked me, because my word is imagination, to sit in the silence every day and to blow out my imagination. Think of a life and imagine a life and my life work in a way that I never have before. And to claim my dreams and to see it and focus on it every single day. Every single day. 40 days in a row. No half-stepping. That's a song too.
Yeah. You know it.
I won't sing it. Yeah, I'm right there with you. So I've got my work too. So I'm just inviting you to join me. And let's talk about it. And it's not always going to be pretty. And it's going to be tough some days. And some days we're going to stumble. We may not do. We might drop out day 4 or 5. Heck, we might drop out on day 2. And then you get to say yes on day 3. Because most of us drop a particular day and you're like, oh, okay, I'm done. Didn't do the whole 40, so okay. And then you can stretch out, but that's our thing, that's our pattern, isn't it? You're on the path, you fall, and instead of getting back up to continue on the path, you just roll around on the path. Not getting back up. What's the use? So you sit on the path and you look around and people are walking the path. You're like, wow, look at them. She's doing her stuff. She's shining the light. And you're just down, sitting on the path, dust, collecting dust. And that's okay. It's okay. It really, really is okay. But what are you going to choose? What are you going to choose? I'm going forward because, I've been called out several times to really imagine this life. Imagine a life that is far more expansive than what I have now. And yes, part of it scares me because I'm like, well, I don't know. I don't know if people want to hear what I got to say. I don't know. I'm scared. I'm scared. I'm scared. Maybe not today. Maybe I send the email, but I don't follow up. Maybe I research places to go speak, but then I don't ask them if I can speak. Maybe I say I'm going to do something. Maybe I claim something, but then on day 2 I think, oh, it doesn't look like it's happening. Doesn't happen on day 2, folks. Doesn't happen on day 2. So I just ask you to, what is it? What are you choosing? What are you choosing in this 40 days? And we can support each other on this path. And when we fall down, we will encourage each other to get back up and keep walking. Well, it looks like it's not working. We will encourage each other and let you know that we just keep going, keep focused on the goal. Just take another step, take another step. When we're confused, when we don't know what the next step is, then we just stay in the silence. We stay in love. We stay in our confidence, that clarity and confidence that Tony read to us. Spirit only knows clarity and confidence. If you walk the path, if you do the work, it has to work. It can't do anything else. It shall work. Shall is the word that shows up in Scripture. It shall work. It shall work. But we have to show up earnestly. We have to show up as the divine beings that we are. We have to claim, we have to embrace our divinity, really, truly embrace it. So what you gonna do, folks? What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? There's a song, my gosh. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? Let's take this in a meditation. So here in this moment, I want you to close your eyes and really take stock of where you are on this path. Are you even on the path? Or are you just kind of looking at it, toying with it, thinking about it, talking about it, but not actually walking the walk? Take stock of where you are. Be honest. Are you ready for these 40 days in your wilderness? Your personal spiritual wilderness. Jesus' 40 days led him not just to a crucifixion, but to a rising and an ascension. The 40 days in the wilderness was the training ground for Jesus. We are stepping into our training ground if we so choose. So where are you on the path? Are you choosing quarter life, half life, or full life? Life lived earnestly, spiritual discovery. Have you said yes fully? Have you said yes to whatever you've been inspired to do as your spiritual training these 40 days? And if you haven't asked what that training is, are you willing to ask it now? Or ask it tonight or tomorrow morning? And once you hear what the training is, are you ready to step and train? Do the work we're called to do in these 40 days. So that you can have more peace and joy and love. Have an experience of God, of oneness that will take your breath away. An experience of God that will give you an experience of bliss every moment of every day. An experience of God that will allow you to face a challenge when it comes, but face it with clarity and confidence. Face it with clarity and confidence. Confidence in who and what you are as a divine being. And I want you to think of what your word that you've been given for this year. Are you willing to say yes to it earnestly? Walk into it, embrace it, live it, be it earnestly. And to shine so brightly you won't recognize yourself. But you'll know that you are home. And that this brilliance is truly you, that it is yours, and that you created it. With, through, and as God. Are your arms open wide to goodness? The good, the all good. Are your arms open wide? Because the more we say yes, every single time we take another step on the path as we are guided, goodness is flooded into our lives. And the goodness that you claim shall manifest. The goodness you are willing to claim shall manifest. It can do nothing else. So we say yes and thank you. We say yes and thank you to the mission we've been called to. We say yes and thank you. Let's take a deep breath. Breathe it in. Think of your word. Exhale. And I want you to fill in a sentence. I am. What is your power? Earnestly. I am love. Earnestly. I am strength. Earnestly. I am imagination. Earnestly. I am faith. Earnestly. I am zeal, earnestly. I am power, earnestly. I am divine order, earnestly. I am life, earnestly. I am understanding, earnestly. I am will, earnestly. And I step forward now in clarity and with confidence. I step forward now in clarity and confidence. And so it is, and so it shall be.